Hello there. This is the brand new transceiver from SenHaiX, the SHX8650. Now it's advertised as a 5-watt VHF and UHF transceiver that also covers reception on airband, HF, medium wave and long wave. Now an interesting feature of this radio is that it supports both Bluetooth programming and, wait for it, hope you sat down, Bluetooth audio. Now that is something which I'm sure you'll agree is very rare for budget handhelds. Now, as Tech Minds and EB030's channel have already done some functional reviews on this, I'm going to do what I normally do and just focus on the hardware. We'll tear it down and have a look at the build quality and see what's going on inside. And to keep this video to a sensible length, I will make a separate video on the RF performance test, and I'll release that shortly after this one. Believe you and me, it's quite interesting. Now, at the time of this recording, this radio hasn't yet been released. Yeah, that's right, it's a pre-released, which SenHaiX has kindly given to me. But once it is, I'll include the links in the description in case you'd like to get one. Now, first of all, let's run through the key features of this radio. So, starting with the transceiver, it features dual band receive, airband coverage, and for our North American friends, it also includes NOAA support. Receive coverage is from 108 MHz all the way up to 519 MHz. Now, there may be some gaps in there. I'll have to do some thorough testing. We'll do that in the next video. And aside from airband, it's FM only, right? So the transceiver has no SSB receive or transmit. Now, interestingly, it doesn't receive on the 28 MHz or 10 meter band or the 50 MHz 6 meter band, which is surprising. But remember, this radio isn't officially released yet, so that may change before it's launched. Transmit, well, it covers 136 MHz to 519. FM only, again, no AM, no SSB. It's advertised as 5 watts, but spoiler alert, it actually delivers far more than that. Once again, I'll cover that in the separate video on RF performance. Now, onto the radio functions. As it's becoming pretty standard these days, it supports long wave, AM or medium wave, short wave and FM. So I expect it's probably got our old friend, the SI4732, the dedicated HF receiver chip on board. And poor Fred in the shed, he's not going to be a happy chappy. The reason? Well, HF only goes up to 26.1 MHz, just shy of the CB band or the 11 and 10 meter bands. Quite why this is, I'm not sure, because those frequencies are well within the range of the SI4732's capabilities. Again, this may change before the final release, so I'm going to reserve judgment on this one for now. And of course, it supports SSB and CW on the HF bands. Where this radio really stands out is the Bluetooth. It has Bluetooth programming and Bluetooth audio. You know, I can't think of another budget radio that offers HF reception, Bluetooth programming and Bluetooth audio in one package. Not in this price range anyway. So it's perfect if you want to pair it with a Bluetooth headset. As of now, I'm not aware of any Bluetooth programming apps for this radio, but I'm sure EB030 will cover it once it's available. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. Now it features a 1.5-inch color display, a brilliant spectrum scope. It works really well actually. I took this away with me on holiday and I had a lot of fun with it, and I was quite impressed with the scope. A sleek black 1.2 meter or 47-inch HF antenna, and an absolutely superb audio system. Seriously, I was using this to listen to FM broadcast radio, and for a while I actually forgot I was listening to it on a transceiver. It was that good. So just wait until you hear it. The sound quality of these budget transceivers just gets better and better. Now a little disclaimer. Please note that this is a pre-release product sample, and any issues identified in this review may have been addressed by the time the product is launched. For your information, I've listed the versions of the software and the hardware of my unit below. Now, before we get into the review, a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. If you want to add a professional touch and repeatability to your projects, check out PCBWay. Now, I've used them for PCB prototyping, 3D printing, CNC machining, and I've always been impressed by their quality, affordability, and speed. They also provide a PCB assembly service, which is really handy for SMD devices, and specialize in advanced manufacturing, including flex, rigid, and HDI boards. A standout feature of their service is just how quick and easy their ordering process is. It is so simple and efficient. Just upload your Gerber files, select the key parameters and quantity, and they will give you an instant quote. Once ordered, you can then track your order's progress in almost real time with PCBWay's manufacturing status information. Join me in future project videos where I'll show you the whole process from start to finish. For more information, visit PCBWay.com, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Okay, let's see what we get in the box. Quite a lot, actually. Okay, let's have a look at the manual. Okay, it's quite lightweight, I'll give you that. Chinese on that side. Oh, this sample has only got a Chinese only instruction manual. Well, you're not missing much. It's pretty lightweight. It's reassuring. We got LSB and USB, CW. So at least it includes SSB out the box. We don't have to pay for a pro version. These are shortcut keys. You just press the F key and then you go straight into squelch or transmit power or whatever. That's nice. That's handy. Got a USB to Kenwood style programming cable. Well, I guess that means you can't program it with a USB-C cable. That's a shame. Antenna. Very soft, flexible one. This reminds me of one I looked at recently. What was it? Oh, it is the TID radio H3 and H3 Plus. They use the same antenna, I think. Pretty sure. FM 2 meters, 70 centimeters. And PMR if you're so inclined. Standard USB charging cable. And then I can see we've got the usual belt clip. Not even going to open that. Now this is unusual. We've got a sexy, this must be the 1.2 47 inch HF cable. Love the color. That's going to look cool. Charging cradle, usual business. This one's 12 volts. Okay. Now let's see if the charger is dual voltage, whether it supports 110 to 240. Yes, it does. Okay, that's good. And this will probably be the throwaway USB charging supply. Also 100 to 240 volts. And last but not least, the radio itself. Get that thing. Do you know what? I like the look of this. You know, sometimes you see the radio and hold a radio for the first time and you either like it or you don't. But this one, yeah, I like it. I like the styling. You've got a Kenwood jack there with a cover on it. Usual. So there we are, the model SHX8650 in case you're any doubt. Less or equal to 5 watts. Okay, let's get the battery on. Oh, it's got a screw fastener. Not sure I like that. USB-C charging, so you can charge the battery independently. Handy if you got additional ones and you want to charge one out separately. 7.4 volts nominal, 1,900 milliamp hours. Okay, that's respectable, I guess, for a radio and battery pack of this size. Now I've got to find my screwdriver. I guess that slot's wide enough to use a small coin. What do you think of a screw fastener for the battery? You like it or not? Let me know in the comments. Interested to get your view on that. Now let's have a closer look. Let's turn it on.
Frequency mode.
There's a clear, bright display, but it's certainly not high res like the Radtel RT950. But it's clear. It reminds me of the TID Radio H3 display. About the same size as well. Actually, let's measure it. Yeah, there you go. 1.5 inches, the same as the TID Radio H3. I wonder if it is the same display. It might be. A nice big speaker grill there. Keys are reasonable size. You see the function and short key buttons. So you just press that F key, the hash key, and then shortcut to the commonly used functions. That's nice. Of course, the covered Kenwood jack. On top there, on the top left, you got your volume and power switch, and in the middle, you got your HF long wave and medium wave antenna. Let's screw that. Nice 1.2 meters of HF loveliness. I did measure it. 47 inches. It looks fantastic on top, I think, with those two antennas. And you got the two PTT buttons and a third programmable button there. What else is there to write home about? Not much, I don't think. So, as we saw before, you got the charging cable cradle contacts and the covered USB-C charging port. I think that's about it. So a bit of a size comparison for you next to our old friend the Quansheng UK5. So you see it's a bit taller and about the same thickness actually. So quite a compact radio. Display's about the same size as well. So there you go. Now let's compare it with the Radtel RT920. So about the same size in terms of a front-on perspective, but it's a bit thinner than the 920. 920 is a bit chunky. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to cover any functions on this video, but I did make myself a menu map because the manual is a bit sparse, so I thought I might as well just share that with you. If you would like to see something like this in future review videos, by the way, let me know if you find it helpful. I find it really helpful if you're getting to know a radio and you want to find your way around. Just make something like this and stick it on your shack wall. Right, without further ado, let's get into the radio. Now, earlier on, I was going on about how good the audio is on this little radio. And previously, I thought the Radtel 950 Pro was really, really good. But when you compare it to this little radio, I think the SenHaiX sounds more full-bodied and richer. Well, have a little listen yourself, see what you think.
Exposes thousands of people to harm. It restricts aid to only one part of Gaza, while leaving other dire needs unmet.
To feed their families, aid seekers from nearby towns had to walk long distances to reach the aid sites. Right next to some sites were Israel's defense forces. Almost as soon as it started operating, the UN says, aid seekers started dying near GHF sites, some from stampedes, from being shot. GHF's lawyers said its security contractors don't deliberately fire at civilians. They're not aware of any credibly documented instance of their ever doing so. No one has been shot dead.
There you go. What do you think? I think it sounds amazing, especially given the size of the little cabinet or case on this radio. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a sensitivity test on HF with that supplied HF antenna. So this is daytime reception on a relatively weak HF signal. Let's compare that with the 950 Pro, fitted with the same antenna, of course. Just give me a moment to move the antenna across. Quite honestly, I think they're about the same. Not much in it. Anyway, I'll compare the sensitivity between these radios in the next video. Alright, as promised, let's tear this down and see what's inside. As always, my favourite bit. Now this is interesting. Can you see you got this big like washer or gasket, I would even dare call it, around the volume control. And then look at that big gasket around the UHF VHF antenna. That's really that's a serious attempt to keep moisture and dust out. I've not seen that before in a budget radio, not to this extent. And then that grommet, which is forming part of the antenna cover for the SMA HF, is also another form of barrier for dust and moisture. So I tell you what, this is really well protected around the two antenna ports and the volume control. That's unusual. Well, it would be unusual if it is indeed a budget radio, but it hasn't come out yet, so we don't really know what the price is going to be, right? So, well, let's hope it's a budget radio. And then if it is, all that protection will be a really good thing. Right, let's see what screws I need to take out next. I'm going to take out the screws at the top, even though I don't think I probably need to, because I think those are just for the belt clip. It's one of those screw-on ones. But I'm going to take them out just in case. Yeah, that's solid. That's probably not coming out. It's probably just there for the belt clip. And certainly these two need to come out. It looks like it's really nicely made though. I've got a horrible feeling it's not going to be that budget. But I'll reserve judgment. Let's be positive. Okay, so just check there's no screws underneath that label. Sometimes they're planted there as a secret, just to catch you out. Well, that wasn't too difficult, was it? Just be careful of any ribbon cables under there. Oh, well, that was pretty tidy. Just one flat cable between the keyboard and the speaker assembly and the main PCB. Now, you see that little black coaxial cable going out the middle of the PCB? That goes to an antenna at the top there labeled Wi-Fi, but it's not advertised Wi-Fi. Maybe it's being used for Bluetooth. Okay, let's disconnect that ribbon cable. Done. But you notice that ribbon cable, or flat cable, however you want to call it, is not screened. Can you see that? I think they've lost a mark on that one. That speaker is excellent. Look at the size of it. It's almost the full width of the case. No wonder it sounds so good. And something else I notice, I just get something to point to you. Can you see you've got metal inserts with the screws? That's another good quality touch. And there's that grommet. And then there's other grommet from around the UHF VHF antenna port. And look at that. There appears to be a gasket all the way around the edge of the case. Can you see that? I've not seen that in a budget radio before. There's been a real attempt to dust and moisture proof this radio. Right, let's take the display off. Just release the little tab there. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that basically frees up the display. And then we got another really delicate flat cable. Be careful, guys. Just flip up that little tab like so, and that will release the cable. And there you have it. So you want to check the size. Yeah, 1.5 inches thereabouts. Let's have a look around the PCB as usual. So there's our Wi-Fi or Bluetooth antenna on the cable. We'll have a look at where that goes. Just starting from the top there, you can see you've got the HF connection, little potentiometer there, and then we've got a Bluetooth module. So this one is obviously Bluetooth data and audio, which makes this radio a bit special. This is the BTA512. I couldn't find any information on this other than I also know it's used in the Retivis HD2. Okay, there's a part of the heatsink system for the RF power amplifiers. There's a connection for the display, of course. What else have we got here? I guess that's the audio amplifier. Just to zoom in to see what that is. Just give me a moment. So it's a TDA2822, which is a low voltage dual power amplifier. Actually, both amplifiers are not that powerful, but they can be used in bridge mode to up the power. So we've seen this in quite a few radios recently. We've seen it in the Radtel 950, the Radtel 920. There you can see the two amplifiers. Let me just have a look at what it can output in bridge mode into 4 ohms, which is probably what we're looking at. Just go down, down, down. Okay, so you can see here that we get around 1.35 watts with 6 volts. So we're probably getting a bit more than that. We might be pushing 1.5 watts, but nevertheless, you can't knock it. They've done quite a good sound with the audio system, I think. There you are. You can see 1.35 watts. You're probably getting around 1.4, 1.5 with the 7.2 volt supply. And in case you're an amp nerd, you can see here how you connect it in bridge mode. So there you go, don't say I didn't tell you. So then moving on from the amplifier, let's see what else we've got. So I've got a voltage regulator there or something. And I think that coaxial cable is probably taking the antenna, the HF antenna to the HF chip on the other side of the board, no doubt. Manufactured 19th week of 2025, very recent. A few more discretes there, nothing very interesting. And obviously you've got the PTT button board on the side there. I think that's it. Let's take the board off and see what's on the other side. I'm sure it's got a lot more fascinating things. I found the spectrum scope on this really good. I took this radio away with me when I was on leave, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I had a lot of fun with that. What else was good on this? So, as I think I mentioned before, I was listening to the broadcast FM on this, and the sound was so good. For a moment, I actually forgot I was listening to it on a transceiver, a handheld transceiver. It was that good. Maybe something to do with the sealed cabinet, with those gaskets forming an airtight seal actually provides a good audio enclosure. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So I don't think we've got anything to unsolder on this one. It should just lift out. Yeah, there we are. Ta-da! You can see you've got 2 heatsink pads there. So it shows we've got 2 RF amplifiers in this. What is a bit surprising is this, I can only see one shielded section on the cast metal. Can you see there? And that goes around the transceiver chip, the BK4819 or 29, whatever it is. There's no separate shielding around the processor, HF chip or RF amplifiers, which is a bit unusual. Okay, starting off from the top of the board, Well, this first chip, I don't know what it is. 04S5036. If you know what that is, do let me know in the comments. I couldn't find any reference to it. It'd be good. Missing piece in jigsaw puzzle. So there's the HF connector, SMA connector. There's UHF, VHF connector, of course. And then to the top right, you can see the RF amplifiers. One for UHF, one for VHF. And you can see the two power amplifier chips. Let's zoom in on those. Try to get a closer look at them. Okay, so this is interesting. They're actually 11 watt amplifiers. And a radio which is specified to be 5 watts. Well, that is a refreshing change, to have something which is more capable than is on the can. Normally it's the other way around. Do you remember the Radtel RT920? It was specified as a 10 watt radio, but the amplifiers are only 7 watts. So this is the other way around. What a refreshing change. So hats off to SenHaiX for that. And that explains why the power output is so much better than 5 watts, as you'll see in my next video. Okay, so let's have a look at what else it's got to offer. Well, it looks like it's very well protected. It's quite robust, got a lot of protection features. And there you can see in both VHF and UHF, it's pumping out around 11 watts, well, up to 11 watts, given the right conditions, of course, and a 7.2 volt power supply, 60% efficient. That's pretty normal. Is there anything else here to write home about? All right, this is interesting. Load mismatch test. You see SWR 65:1. So this is where you basically got a really badly mismatched antenna with an 8.4 volt supply and no degradation to the device. So looks like we got a robust device here, and with a very conservative power rating, lots of headroom. So yeah, this thing's built like a tank, isn't it? And then you can see at the top there the Kenwood jacks. And then to the left here, let's just turn it around. You can see the shielded section with the transceiver IC in it. There you are. It's BK4829. Of course, we've seen this many times, including the RT950. And here we have the flash chip, which is a 25Q16 16 megabit serial flash chip. And then above that, we have the heart of the system, the microcontroller, which is a GD32F303. Now, this is interesting because this is a ARM Cortex 32-bit microprocessor that's supposed to be compatible, or at least software compatible, with STM32 series. This is good because it's based upon a well-established platform with a lot of developer and community support. Let's have a look at the key specifications. So I can see it goes up to 120 megahertz, fast zero wait state memory. Let's see how much our version has. So we got the RE. So the code area is 256 kilobytes, and the data area another 256, and the static RAM 64 kilobytes. Okay, so that's pretty good for radio. I mean, it's nothing like the RT950 of 950 Pro, of course, but you know, not to be sniffed at, very capable. But not to be confused with the ESP32, which is used on a lot of high-end shortwave radios that we're seeing, such as the ATS series. So the STM series, it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi, so you need an external module if you want Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, as we can see in this radio. And then below you can see the crystal oscillator just there. A few discretes, and then our old friend, the SI4732 HF medium wave, long wave, and FM broadcast receiver IC. See a few discretes underneath. I think there's a LNA amplifier in there as well. I think that's pretty much it. I think I'll wrap this up now. So in summary, what I've seen so far of this radio, I think it looks very promising. I was particularly impressed at the attempts to protect the radio from dust and water ingress. I don't think like I say, I've seen another radio of this budget category which already has that. The sound is also incredible for the size. That also sets a new standard. Now, as for the Bluetooth audio, unfortunately, I couldn't get it to work. I was trying to connect to a Bluetooth speaker, but unfortunately, I was unsuccessful. Unfortunately, I didn't have a Bluetooth headset. Maybe it was designed to work for headset only. I'm not too sure. Or maybe I've got a defective unit. But nevertheless, I'm sure if it's been advertised, it will be working by the time it's launched. So in the meantime, do take care. Thank you for joining me in this teardown. And do join me for the next one where I'll look at the RF performance. 73 and all the best.